Have you ever caught yourself staring out the window on a Tuesday afternoon, wondering if all this hustle is still worth it? Maybe you've been waking up more tired than you used to, even after a full night's sleep. Or maybe it's not your body that feels worn out, but something deeper. That quiet voice inside that keeps asking, is this still what I want? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. A lot of people think about retirement as something far off, some fixed number on a calendar, or a magic age that someone else decided. But what if that number isn't right for you? What if the signs have already been showing, quietly, nudging you toward something different? Something better. Not an end, but a new beginning. Today, we're going to talk about something that might just shift your perspective in a big way. We're diving into 8 signs you should consider retiring earlier than you think. Because sometimes the best time to start your next chapter is sooner than you planned. Let's start with something you might already be feeling, even if you haven't put it into words. Your energy is fading faster than it used to. Not just physically, though that's part of it, but emotionally too. The things that used to excite you about work now feel like obligations. Tasks that once gave you pride now leave you drained. And no matter how hard you try to push through, the spark just isn't there anymore. That's not laziness or weakness, it's wisdom. Your body and spirit might be trying to tell you, it's time for something else. You see, retirement isn't about giving up. It's about realigning your time with what truly matters. And when your energy starts slipping away from the job and into other parts of life, like your hobbies, your grandkids, or just a peaceful morning walk, that's a signal worth paying attention to. It's not failure. It's a shift in purpose. One that's calling you to invest your energy where it matters most now. And here's another sign that often creeps in quietly. Your health is starting to take more hits than it used to. Maybe your back aches after sitting too long, or stress is tightening your chest a little more each week. You notice that you're getting sick more often, or recovering more slowly. Maybe your doctor has raised an eyebrow at your blood pressure or suggested cutting back on stress. These are not just medical issues, they're warning lights on your dashboard. You might be thinking, but I can still do the job. I'm not falling apart. And that may be true. But the real question is, what is it costing you to keep doing it? Because every year you stay in a high-stress or physically demanding role, you're making a trade, your time and health for a paycheck. And if that paycheck isn't tied to passion or fulfillment anymore, is it still worth the cost? Retirement doesn't have to mean slowing down completely. In fact, for many people, it means finally having the time to get healthier, to sleep better, to move more, to eat slower meals, breathe deeper, and maybe even laugh a little longer. When you free yourself from the grind, your body often begins to heal, and that healing is worth more than any salary. Now, here's one that catches people off guard. Your heart just isn't in it anymore, and you're starting to feel it in your spirit. You show up, you smile, you do your job, but inside, you're coasting. Not because you don't care, but because something inside you is yearning for a different rhythm. Maybe you've started daydreaming about traveling, or picking up that old hobby you once loved. Or maybe you just want to wake up one day and not have to check a schedule. This is more than boredom. It's a signal from your soul. When your passion starts pointing somewhere else, it's not something to ignore. It's a map. And too many people wait until they're too tired or too sick to follow it. You don't need permission to start living a life that feels right. If you've worked hard, saved reasonably well, and feel the pull toward something different, it might be time to answer that call. And no, it doesn't mean you're quitting. It means you're choosing quality over habit. Choosing life over routine. And that takes courage. So what if you're not supposed to retire yet? Who gets to decide that? A chart? A government form? Your neighbor? And here's something else that often gets brushed under the rug. Your work environment has changed, and not for the better. Maybe it used to feel like a family. A place where you were respected, listened to, and valued. But now, it's different. Management's changed. The pace is faster. You're expected to do more with less. Maybe younger coworkers are being prioritized while your decades of experience are quietly pushed aside. Suddenly, the loyalty you gave doesn't feel like it's being returned. That kind of shift can leave you feeling invisible, even in a place where you used to shine. And it can wear you down emotionally, little by little, day after day. You might not even notice it until one day, you realize you've stopped offering ideas. You've stopped laughing with your team. You've started counting the hours till Friday like you used to count the days till Christmas. That's not just a bad week. That's a pattern. And patterns like that are often your life's way of nudging you toward a decision you've been putting off. When a space no longer fits you, it doesn't mean you are broken. It means you've grown. And maybe now you've outgrown it. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to honor. There's a moment, sometimes hard to define, when staying becomes heavier than leaving. When the comfort of routine starts to feel more like a cage than a cushion. If any part of you is starting to feel that, you owe it to yourself to pay attention. Because retirement doesn't have to be a surrender. It can be a celebration. Not of what you're walking away from, but of what you're walking toward. And if you've been feeling like you're constantly swimming against the current at work, like no matter how much effort you put in, something's always off, then it might be time to ask yourself a deeper question. Are you still working because it's truly bringing you joy, or because it's simply what you've always done? There's a kind of momentum we all carry, especially after decades of hard work. You wake up, get dressed, show up, and repeat. It becomes muscle memory. But just because you can keep going doesn't always mean you should. Sometimes we continue because we're afraid to stop. Afraid of what might come after. But here's the truth that often gets overlooked. You have already proven yourself. You don't need to earn your rest, you deserve it. And you're allowed to want more out of life than routines and responsibility. Now, let's talk about another sign that retirement might be closer than you think. Your priorities have changed. And not just in theory, but in your gut. Things that used to be lower on your list are starting to matter more now. Maybe it's spending real time with your grandkids. Maybe it's caring for your health with long walks and fresh meals. Maybe it's just the desire to be present. Not rushing, not stressed, not distracted. You might find yourself watching the clock less for deadlines and more for sunsets. You start noticing the beauty in things you used to overlook. A morning breeze, birdsong, a good cup of coffee. That shift in awareness is a powerful sign. Because it means you're starting to value your time more than your tasks. And when time becomes more precious than the next paycheck, that's no small thing. That's your soul pointing towards something quieter, gentler, more meaningful. This kind of internal shift isn't always dramatic. It can be subtle, a few more minutes lingering at the dinner table, a slower pace when you walk, more days where you'd rather be gardening than glued to a screen. But those little moments add up and they matter. They're not distractions, they're clues. Because what's the point of saving up for retirement if, by the time you get there, you're too worn out to enjoy it? What if the better choice isn't waiting, but stepping into that freedom while you still have the energy, clarity, and desire to embrace it fully? Here's something else that many people don't talk about enough. Your finances might already be in a better place than you think. A lot of folks keep working longer because they're afraid. Afraid that if they stop, the money will run out. Afraid they haven't done enough. But sometimes, when you really look at your expenses, your lifestyle, and what you actually need to feel secure, the numbers might surprise you. Maybe you've paid off your home. Maybe your kids are grown and independent now. Maybe you've been living below your means for years, quietly building a cushion. If that's the case, then the fear of not having enough might just be a story you've been told for too long. A habit of worry passed down from generations that didn't have the tools we have today. But you don't have to be a millionaire to retire. You just have to understand your needs, your goals, and your peace of mind. And here's the thing. Freedom isn't always found in how much you have. It's found in how little you need to feel fulfilled. If your heart is leaning towards simplicity, towards slower mornings and deeper breaths, then maybe it's time to reevaluate not just your career. Because retirement doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be intentional. And if you're still unsure, ask yourself this. Are you working to live, or living to work? It's a powerful question. And for many people over 60, the answer starts to shift. Not because they've lost drive, but because they've gained wisdom. The kind that only comes with time. The kind that whispers, there's more to life than proving yourself. Another sign? You've started to feel disconnected from the work itself. Not in a dramatic way, but in the small moments. You find that the meetings feel longer. The tasks feel repetitive. The purpose just isn't what it used to be. Maybe your job changed. Maybe the industry did. Or maybe you did. And that's okay. Sometimes we stay because we think we owe it to our coworkers, or our boss, or the company we helped build. But here's the truth, you've already given your best. You've already shown up, year after year, through changes, challenges, and chaos. You've stayed loyal, consistent, and dependable. But loyalty doesn't mean staying when your heart has already moved on. It means knowing when to bow out with grace and gratitude. You don't have to burn out to step away. You can leave before you're exhausted. You can retire before your body forces you to. That's not selfish, it's wise. It's strong. It's what you've earned. Because retirement isn't just a financial decision, it's an emotional one. It's about reclaiming your time, your peace, and your presence. And it doesn't mean losing your sense of purpose. In fact, many people discover a greater purpose once they step away from the grind. They find time to mentor others, volunteer, start passion projects, travel, or simply be fully and joyfully. If you've been feeling like life is passing too quickly, like the calendar pages are flipping faster than they used to, then maybe now is the moment to pause. Not out of fear, but out of clarity. Out of the growing desire to make your next chapter the best one yet. You've climbed mountains. You've overcome obstacles. You've built a life, raised a family, kept going through every storm. Don't forget, you still have that same strength inside you. But now, maybe it's time to point that strength toward yourself. Toward living, not just existing. And maybe the clearest sign of all, the one we often try hardest to ignore, is that little voice inside you. You know the one. It shows up when things get quiet. When you're sipping your morning coffee and the world hasn't started buzzing yet. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It says things like, "You've done enough." Or, "What are you waiting for?" That voice isn't being reckless. It's not trying to tempt you away from responsibility. It's trying to bring you home, to yourself. To the version of you that has spent a lifetime showing up for everyone else, and is now asking, when will it be my turn? Because there is a life waiting for you beyond the routine. A life where you don't need to justify your time. Where you can wake up slowly, breathe deeply, and spend your energy on what fills you, not what drains you. And if you've been feeling like you're just holding on until someday, that's a sign worth listening to. Because someday is never guaranteed. The truth is, none of us knows how many years, how many good seasons we have left. And that's not meant to scare you, it's meant to set you free. Free to choose joy over obligation, peace over pressure, presence over productivity. Maybe you've noticed yourself becoming more reflective lately. Looking back over your life, not with regret, but with curiosity. Wondering about the chapters you haven't written yet. That's not nostalgia. That's your future calling. Because retirement isn't the end of your story, it's the start of a brand new one. One where you get to decide what matters most. Where your calendar isn't filled with meetings, but moments. Where you measure success not by how much you accomplish, but by how deeply you live. And you might be surprised to find that once you step away, the world doesn't fall apart without you. Life keeps moving, yes, but now you finally get to move with it, not just around it. You get to notice the little things again. The way the light comes through your kitchen window, the sound of laughter from the park, the joy of simply being still. Some people worry they'll be bored in retirement, that they'll lose purpose. But boredom only comes when we don't give ourselves permission to dream again. Retirement isn't about doing nothing, it's about doing what you choose. And that might mean rediscovering passions you've buried for years. Or starting something entirely new. Maybe you want to write, paint, or volunteer. Or just take long, unhurried walks with no destination at all. There is no right way to retire. The only right way is the one that feels true to you. And if you're still unsure, just ask yourself this. If money weren't the issue, if your financial needs were covered, would you keep doing what you're doing? Or would you step into a different rhythm? A slower, fuller kind of life? Because that question has a way of cutting through the noise. It reveals what you really want beneath all the shoulds and have tos. And sometimes, the answer is simpler than we expect. So if your energy is fading, if your health is whispering for more care, if your priorities have shifted, if you've outgrown the place you used to love, If your heart is longing for stillness, connection, or creativity, then maybe, just maybe, the time isn't later. Maybe the time is now. Not because you're giving up, but because you're finally ready to start living fully. And that choice? That is one of the most powerful choices you will ever make. So here's what I want you to remember. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be to make this decision with strength and grace. You've already lived a life of dedication, of hard work, of showing up for others. Now, it's time to show up for yourself. Retirement doesn't mean slowing down. It means shifting gears. It means spending your time on the people, the passions, and the places that make your heart come alive. It means honoring your body, your wisdom, your dreams. And you don't need anyone's permission to do that. You've earned this. Every long day, every sleepless night, every challenge you overcame, it's all led you here. To this moment. And if something inside you has been quietly saying, I think I'm ready, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to trust that voice. Because life isn't waiting. And the best days? The most meaningful, joy-filled, soul-nourishing days? They're still ahead of you. So take a deep breath. Look around at the life you've built. And know this, you can let go of the grind without letting go of your purpose. You can leave the routine without losing your value. You can stop working and start living, on your terms, in your time, with your heart wide open. And if that idea stirs something in you, then maybe it's not just a thought. Maybe it's a sign.